Hello, welcome to the Peaceful Woodturner. I've got this piece of spalted, I believe it's oak. It's left over from another project, and I was just trying to guess at that point what the wood was. I decided I want to try to see if I can make this into an ornament, like a Christmas ornament type of thing. And I've got a little bit different setup on my lathe here. I've got the faceplate on, and I've got the live center down here just to give some stability. What I'm hoping to be able to do with this setup, and we'll see, is to be able to actually turn down to kind of a small, thin finial for the bottom of the piece. I really have trouble trying to get those little pointed bits because of what I have at the moment, the limitations I have. If I had a chuck, it would be a lot better. But I was thinking that I could try this with this and see how it actually works with doing this kind of turning. There's some rough spots on here, some knots and stuff that stick out a little bit, so I've got my tool set up to go nice and slow, and I'm just going to start roughing it off really carefully. I know from experience that of course you have to be very careful when you're working in areas like this where it sticks out just a little bit, because you get this illusion that you can put the tool in a little further than you really can. So I'm going to take it nice and easy and just start roughing this down a little bit. Okay, I've got those big knobby bits turned down a little bit. They're going to be interesting. It looks like there's a little bit of a breakout that's going to happen in those too. So I'm going to move down here a little bit now and try to just really work on rounding out at the end. Coming down nicely. Obviously there's a bit more bark still to come off, but these aren't breaking out too much, and I had another knot over here that is taken away nicely, so going pretty good so far. Almost to where I want to start shaping. I'm just going to take off the rest of the bark at this end just to make sure that I don't have any pieces flying off at me. And then I'll clean up a bit and I'll reset and start using the spindle gouge to start taking things down to the shape I want. Good. Alright, so my area of interest is mostly right down in here. So I'm going to reset a little, clean up a little bit, and get going with the spindle gouge. Alright, the old shop vac did its work, so now it's time to start doing a little bit of shaping. Got my spindle gouge. I'm just going to reset my tool rest a little bit, make sure I'm at a comfortable position. Now obviously I still have a little bit of a rough area here, but that's going to shape out and smooth down. This area is going to be the kind of ball part of the ornament, and then it's going to come down to a finer tip down here. Up here will be the finial. coming along really nicely. A little bit there still has to come off in order for that to be nice and smooth. But this is starting to look like the shape I was thinking of. I'm kind of surprised. Alright, it's time to switch to the skew. Definitely have to reset a bit. Still getting the hang of the skew. I've done some work with it. I'm getting better with it, but not quite there yet. So I think my tool rest is too high. I'm not quite getting the bevel the way I need to. So it's funny, the last time I was using the skew, I felt so much better going this way and not so good going to my left. And now this time I'm really screwing up a lot going to my right, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable going to my left. See? So here's the thing. I know I could probably go back to the spindle gouge and start taking some of this off and everything else, but I also know the skew is really a better tool for this job if I just use it properly. So as much as I'm having trouble with it, I'm going to continue to work on it. Just keep adjusting, figuring out where I'm making my mistakes so that I can get it right. Because practice makes perfect. Alright, so now the tricky part, as if I wasn't already having enough trouble with other things, in order to get this down to a point, I have to take my live center away and start working on it. I haven't done anything thin and free like this before, so this is going to be a little bit interesting. I'm going to start with the spindle gouge just to try to straighten it and smooth it a little bit before things get too rough. Okay, like that. Before I get too far, I'm just going to hit this with a really fine sandpaper just to smooth it out a little bit. I don't want to put any pressure on it once I get things a little thinner here. So I've got a 500 grit paper. Good. Took out all the rough there. So now I can take this in a little bit, and then I'm going to bring this in. Have to watch out for that. I hope I don't get any catches with that. I'm just going to have to kind of try to cut in gently right in there. That was bad positioning on my part. So one problem I have just in my creative process is that I tend to change my mind a lot. So all of a sudden now I really want to make this into a box. I'm not going to, but I just really like how that looks as a lid. I think that'd be kind of cool to have that be the lid for a box. But I'm not going for that. I just took off a little bit over here kind of roughly to try to give myself a little more space as I bring this down in with the skew. I keep throwing myself off because on this side I need to have the tool rest set so that I can get in here and be at the right level and everything else, but on this side I need to be a good bit higher. Alright, it's going to need a good bit of sanding right there. I probably should just break out my smaller spindle gouge, clean that up a little bit, and then get into it. Alright, I'm going to sand this, and then I'm going to part it off and finish it up. I'm going to start with a 320 grit just to take off some of the heavier spots. This sponge is fairly well worn, so it's not really even 320 grit anymore. Got a gouge right there. Definitely going to have to work that out before I can do anything else. So I'm going to go with a 220 grit right here to just try to take this out. Alright, that feels really nice. I'm gonna do a wet sandpaper now. Alright, I've got a wet 500 grit. Alright, that's gonna be nice. I'm going to part it off, and then I'm going to put my eye in it and finish it hanging so that it'll dry evenly and everything. And then I'll put my ribbon in it. So I've got my little parting tool just to get this started. Doing well, and then I had poor tool control and screwed myself up completely. Still gonna be nice, but it's not gonna be quite what I wanted it to be. Well, and then I get a little impatient, a little careless, get my tool in a bad spot. Ooh, look at that. I'm not even sure what that is, but I'm going to switch over to the saw, because there's no way I want to get my tool hitting into that. Alright. Gonna hit that with the palm sander and put a finish on it. So I've got a 500 grit paper on my palm sander, and I got a little bit of oil on it. I'm just gonna start taking this off a little bit, smoothing it down. So that is turned down really nicely. It's very smooth. Just going to put an eye in it, and then I'll be able to hang it up.